I don't remember who suggested the walk. It might have been me. That's what my sister later said when we were arguing in the kitchen and she was already halfway into being angry for other reasons. She said, "You wanted to get them out of the house, like it proved something." I didn't correct her. I usually don't. Once she's decided a version that fits. It was late afternoon, still light but thinning. The kind of light where everything looks flatter than it should, like it's been pressed. We'd been inside all day because of the heat. The kids were loud in that bored way that isn't really loud, just constant. I remember standing at the back door with my hand on the knob, feeling that small relief you get when you think you're about to change the scene. Like if we're somewhere else, this feeling won't follow. The trail starts a few blocks past the last house. It's technically a park, but nobody calls it that. There's no sign, just a worn opening in the trees and a city trash can that's always tipped over. I'd walked it a dozen times by myself, with the kids only once before, when they were smaller and didn't ask questions that went unanswered. My niece ran ahead. She's 8 and convinced she's older. My son stayed close to me, which she'd started doing more often lately without explanation. My sister walked behind us, scrolling, not really looking up. I noticed that, but didn't say anything. That's a boundary we don't cross anymore. Commenting on each other's parenting. We both pretend we're fine with how the other does things. The trail curves after the first 100 feet, and the road noise drops off fast. You can still hear it if you try, but you have to try. I remember thinking that was nice. I remember thinking it felt cooler. We came around the corner, and I saw him, a man, standing just off the trail. I didn't think man right away. I thought something more neutral, like a shape or a person-shaped problem. He was far enough away that it didn't register as wrong yet. He was just there, not walking, not sitting, standing, with his arms loose at his sides. He was facing the trail, but not looking at us exactly. His gaze was angled down, like he was watching where his feet met the dirt. My niece waved at him. She does that to strangers sometimes, and every time I mean to stop her, and every time I don't want to make it a thing. He didn't wave back. He didn't react at all. We kept walking. I tell myself now that this was normal. People stand in parks. People pause on trails. There was nothing overtly wrong about him. If you asked me to describe him, I'd struggle. Dark shirt, jeans, maybe. Hair, I don't remember. I remember his hands, though. They were empty. And I remember noticing that like it mattered. My sister caught up to me and said, "Who was that?" quietly, which surprised me because she doesn't normally notice people unless they're in her way. "Probably nothing," I said immediately. I don't know why I said it so fast. The words came out before I'd even finished the thought. We walked past him. I didn't look directly at his face. I told myself that was polite. I told myself that was normal. My son tugged on my shirt and asked if we could go back soon. I told him in a minute, in the voice I use when I don't want follow-up questions. When I looked back, the man had turned. He wasn't following us exactly. He just shifted his stance so he was angled the same way that we were going, but still not moving. "This is one way," she said. "Let's turn back now." It wasn't a suggestion. We turned around as a group, which felt significant later, though I don't know why. The man was still there, still standing. When he saw us turn, he stepped onto the trail. He didn't rush. That's the part that keeps coming back. He didn't rush. He just started walking at the same pace we'd been walking. If we sped up, he didn't. If we slowed down, he didn't either. Or maybe he did and I'm misremembering. The spacing stayed the same, that's what I'm sure of. My niece stopped skipping. She didn't say anything, which scared me more than if she had. My sister reached for her hand without looking at her. My son pressed into my side hard enough that I felt his ribs through his shirt. "Hey," my sister said, finally turning around, "can we help you?" He stopped walking. He looked up then. I still can't describe his face. I remember the shape of his mouth more than anything else. It was relaxed, not smiling, not tight, just neutral, like this wasn't a charged interaction for him. He didn't answer. There was a long pause, long enough that my sister opened her mouth again, then closed it, long enough that I became aware of how quiet the trail was, how the road sound really was gone now. "We're heading out," I said. My voice sounded strange to me, like it had been recorded earlier and played back, slightly off speed. He took one step forward. That was it, just one step. But something in me flipped then, something physical. I felt it in my hands first. They went numb. I tightened them into fists without realizing. Later, I had crescent marks in my palms. "Don't," my sister said. It came out sharp, almost loud. He stopped again. I wish I could say we turned and ran. We didn't. We walked. Faster, but not running. There's a kind of social gravity to that choice that's hard to explain. Running would have meant admitting something out loud, even without words. Walking fast let us pretend this was still within the range of normal. He followed. I don't know how far it was to the trail entrance. I've walked it since then, trying to measure it. It always feels shorter now. At the time, it felt like it kept extending. The kids didn't cry. That's another thing. They didn't cry or yell or ask questions. They just walked with us, too quiet, like they were matching a tone they didn't understand. About halfway, my sister whispered, "What do we do?" She was crying without making noise. I remember being annoyed by that, which feels awful now, but it was scary and clear then. Like, this isn't helpful. "We keep going," I said. I didn't have another option prepared. Behind us, I could hear his footsteps. Not heavy, regular, shoes on dirt, the kind of sound that shouldn't mean anything. At some point, my niece tripped. She didn't fall all the way, but she stumbled and had to stop. That broke something. My sister scooped her up without asking, and that was when we ran. I don't remember deciding to. I just remember the sensation of it, the jolt in my knees, the air going sharp in my throat. I remember thinking I couldn't drop my son, that if I did, I wouldn't be able to come back for him. That thought arrived, fully formed, like it had been waiting. I don't remember looking back. The trail exit appeared suddenly, the way it does when you're desperate for it. Light, asphalt, the sound of a car passing. We burst out together, disorganized. My sister nearly fell onto the sidewalk. A woman walking her dog stopped and stared at us. I wanted to tell her something. I wanted to say, "There's a man," or "We need help," but the words didn't line up. When I finally looked back, the trail was empty. No man, no movement, just the trees and the trash can tipped on its side. We stood there for a while, long enough that the woman with the dog walked on, long enough that my breath slowed and my hands started to hurt as the numbness wore off. My niece asked if we could go get ice cream. My son asked if we were in trouble. "No," I said, "of course not." On the walk back home, my sister kept apologizing for not paying attention, for suggesting the walk, for everything she could reach for. I told her it was fine. I told her it was probably nothing. I told her it was probably just weird. I don't know why I minimized it so hard, even then. That night, the kids were asleep. My sister and I talked, or tried to talk about it again. She wanted to call someone, non-emergency maybe, just to tell somebody it happened. I said I didn't think there was anything to report. We couldn't describe him. He hadn't touched us. He hadn't said anything. "So what?" she said. "We just pretend it didn't happen." I didn't answer, not because I didn't have one, because I realized that was already what I was doing. A few days later, my niece drew a picture at school. My sister sent me a photo of it. It was the trail, crudely done, with 4 stick figures and a 5th one behind them. Slightly off to the side, no face, just a shape. The teacher had written, "Nice nature walk," at the top. My sister asked if she should say something to the teacher, ask her what my niece had said about it. "What would that do?" I asked. She didn't respond right away. We haven't gone back to that trail together. I've gone alone once. I told myself it was to prove something, but really I just wanted to see if it felt different. It didn't. It felt like a trail. Trees, dirt, light thinning in the afternoon. I didn't see anyone. Sometimes my son asks why we don't go on walks there anymore. I tell him we got busy. He accepts that, which worries me more than if he didn't. The kids don't talk about it. Or maybe they do, just not to us. I still don't know what he wanted. I still don't know if it was actually dangerous or if we taught them to be afraid of something that wasn't real. That's the part that sticks, not the footsteps or the silence, but the possibility that I drew a line somewhere and made them step back without being able to explain why. I think about that a lot, about how boundaries look from the inside versus the outside, about how sometimes you don't know if you're protecting your family or just teaching them to carry your fear quietly. I haven't found a clean way to explain it yet. Some moments never resolve into certainty, and that can be harder than fear itself. We make choices with incomplete information, guided by instincts we don't always trust, but still have to live with. What lingers isn't what happened, but the quiet responsibility of deciding where a line belongs and who carries it afterward. Be gentle with yourself and with others when the answers don't arrive quickly, and thank you for staying present through it.